In this video, I am going to show you how to heal a fearful avoidant trigger in 21 days. And that is very doable. I'm talking about healing a fearful avoidant trigger, not the full fearful avoidant attachment style, but healing a trigger in 21 days, very, very doable. I am Pauline and I am so happy you are here because when you're healing the fearful avoidant attachment style, knowing how to heal your triggers will actually cause you to see a lot of improvement because it's very specific and you see very specific results, which really helps you in seeing that you're progressing, that you're actually getting somewhere, which helps you to keep going essentially. And also, out of all the attachment styles, the fearful avoidant attachment style usually has the most triggers. And that doesn't mean that you will be healing triggers or clearing triggers for the rest of your life, but it really will help you in your daily life when you can heal at least some of them. And it will help you to feel more free, to not be scared that you will get triggered just by living your life. And it will also help you with that exhaustion that you're feeling, because getting triggered and all those overwhelming feelings that come with it, that's just really, really exhausting. And so you might know a lot of the triggers of the fearful avoidant attachment style. If you don't, I have multiple videos, at least 2 videos on the triggers of the fearful avoidant attachment style. And that helps because sometimes you don't even really see it, right? That I call that baseline blindness, that something is just so obvious that you don't even really notice it anymore. So it can help to know the triggers of the fearful avoidant attachment style. But when you know them, then the next question is, how do you heal them? How do you actually heal a trigger? And that's what this video is about. So what I want to do with you is take a very concrete example and just walk you through the 5-step process of healing a specific trigger. And the example we're going to work with is feeling tense around your partner. So you're home together, whether you live together or whether your partner is just with you in your home, and you feel tense. It might be something you recognize, it might not be something you're struggling with right now, but this is just for the sake of the example of healing a trigger. So something triggers that feeling tense around your partner. And when you haven't healed, your fear brain is going to say, oh, this is the relationship, it's your partner, you should break up, and then you're feeling better. And in a way, that might be the case because you're then alone and you don't have a partner in your home, and therefore you're not triggered. And so your fear brain will tell you it's you just have to go, you just have to break up. But feeling tense around your partner can have a multitude of reasons why that happens, a multitude of causes. And it could very well be that you have that again with a partner in the future, because a lot of the triggers that we have, a lot of those intense feelings that we have that come up all of a sudden is are based in our past. And therefore it's kind of like a projection on your partner right now. I was just thinking, I haven't explained what a trigger is, and I'm kind of maybe assuming that you already know because you're already on your healing journey and you're already in it. But let me just explain real quick. A trigger means that something happens, either somebody says something, a situation occurs, you have a thought, something happens, and all of a sudden all of these feelings come up. And especially in the beginning, when you haven't really healed yet, it's overwhelming. There's so many feelings. It feels like an avalanche of feelings, like a thunderstorm. And you don't really know what's happening, because a lot of times it's really hard to pinpoint the trigger, to pinpoint the thing that actually triggered all of these emotions. And so it becomes really easy to say, oh, I'm feeling tense around my partner, so it's my partner's fault, or it has to do with my partner, and I have to break up. But the further you are on your healing journey, you probably have noticed that that's not always true, because what happens when you get triggered is that you have essentially an emotional flashback. So all kinds of feelings from your childhood come back in the present moment. So something in the present triggers a lot of old pain, old feelings, and they a lot of times are protection mechanisms. They are trying to protect you and keep you safe. And your fear brain is saying, oh, I recognize this situation, or be aware of this. And it's just trying to protect you, but it's not doing that anymore. It's not really helping, because you may now be with a very safe, healthy partner, and you want to feel relaxed around them. You know that the relationship is healthy. So it's just, it's old pain that's getting triggered. And so your fear brain is kind of projecting the past onto the present, and we want to release that so we can just be in the present without all of this emotional charge and baggage, really, from the past. So you being tense around your partner, the example we're using in this video, if you look at that at face value, you could say it's just my partner, it's my relationship. But when you want to heal a trigger, what is very important is that you actually just allow the feeling to be there without immediately attaching meaning to it. That is something the fear brain loves doing, attaching meaning to it immediately. But just being with the feeling, staying with the feeling, is the first step of this process of healing a specific trigger. And that requires you to kind of stay with the sensations in your body. If feelings is almost too scary to actually feel your feelings, if that sounds too scary, just see it as sensations, because that's essentially what it is. So you're feeling tense. Where in your body are you feeling tense? What kind of sensations does that cause? Without attaching any meaning to it. You won't all of a sudden realize that your partner isn't the one, or that you have to break up by doing this process. It really is just going to the trigger that is caused by the past and healing that. So staying with the feeling, and then when you can allow just the sensations to be there, you just ask yourself, what does this feeling remind me of? What do these sensations remind me of? So you're feeling tense around your partner, and you're just asking yourself what this feeling reminds you of. And then let the wisdom of your body bring it up. And this can be hard, but in the end, it will really help you to get deeper faster, because you probably have the tendency to overanalyze. So this is not the moment to say, oh, well, it's probably this and this and this and this. And that can be hard, because in the beginning, your fear brain just wants to jump in and just find the solution and find the cure. But when you stay with the body and just ask that question, there probably will be memories that come up. And so when it comes to being tense around your partner, this was a trigger out of many that I've healed. And what I found was, I actually took the time to feel it. I realized that feeling was most prominently there when Aryan, my then boyfriend, now husband, went to the kitchen, and I couldn't see him. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so I asked myself, what does this feeling remind me of? And that's when I realized that when I was young, when my dad would go to the kitchen, I couldn't see him. So I couldn't kind of gauge his, how he was doing, his facial expressions and mimicry. And because of that, I was scared that something would happen in his head, because he had the tendency, and I think a lot of fearful avoidant parents have this, he would do the dishes, and then while doing the dishes, he would think about things. And it happened quite often that after he was fine before doing the dishes, would have a meal, it was fine. And then he would come back from doing the dishes, and all of a sudden he would lash out at me over something I did prior that day, or even before. He would just all of a sudden say, and I wanted to say I didn't like you doing this and this and this. And for me, it came out of nowhere, because we just had a nice family dinner, And so him going to the kitchen and me not being able to see what was going on in his head, or what facial expressions he had, caused tension. And so when my then boyfriend would go to the kitchen, that was what came up. I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know what he was thinking. And my boyfriend, it sounds so weird to say boyfriend, but he was my boyfriend then. He's my husband now. He's just very chill. Like, he does not have this brewing capacity at all, that something is brewing in his mind and all of a sudden he lashes out and says, I didn't like it when you did that, blah blah blah, in an angry way. And so it wasn't happening in the moment, but my fear brain was remembering it and saying, this is not safe. What if something happens while he's in the kitchen? But I couldn't have made that link. I couldn't have seen that link if I wouldn't have just stayed with the feeling. It wasn't something I would have dug up just by analyzing. And so this is why it's so important to allow the feeling to be there and to kind of see, what does this remind me of, and it then helps to see when is the feeling the most prominent, the most strong. And then this memory came up. So then the next step is to neutralize the emotional charge around the past, on what happened. So neutralize the emotional charge around this trigger, because my husband walking to the kitchen is not a threat. So there is emotional charge around that can be released, that can be neutralized. And we do that. We can do that in several ways. And the way I've found works the absolute best for me, and also just for fearful avoidance in general, is EFT, the emotional freedom technique. But there are different ways. I mean, you can use your breath, you can use EMDR, especially if you have a very specific memory. So there are multiple ways, but you need to have a tool or modality to neutralize the emotional charge, so that it kind of uncouples what happened in the past to what's happening right now. And when you have something like that, you visualize that scene from your youth. So your father going to the kitchen, and then just you allow those feelings to come up. And it could be that you have a very specific memory, one time just something really big happened, and you can very well do that here and just kind of make a small movie of it, where you start at a certain point and then just walk through it and see all the feelings, just feel all the feelings that come up. It could also be that you have like a general memory. I didn't have a specific memory of one time my dad walking to the kitchen and then coming back. It happened a lot. And so it wasn't one time, but I could definitely kind of make a small movie out of it, of that happening. I'll come back to the movie thing. And it could also be that you just have a vague feeling that you kind of know, oh, it probably had to do with this, but you're not quite sure. And even that you can work with and can work on. So you don't have to absolutely have a very specific memory in order to heal. So visualizing that scene really, really helps in healing the trigger. And then the fifth step is using that tool. So EFT, the emotional freedom technique, uses tapping to heal it. And that neutralizes feelings, that neutralizes that emotional charge, the tension that you have. And what you do is you have that little movie, and it really should be, it's easy to make this too big, like try to neutralize all the feelings around everything. But what you want to do is have a little movie of about 10 seconds in real time. So your dad walking to the kitchen, for instance, or your dad being in the kitchen and or walking back from the kitchen, and you checking to see his facial expressions to kind of be able to predict what's coming. It really should be 5 to 10 seconds in real life. So not the full story of the whole day or compressed in 5 seconds. It actually should be the 5 seconds. That works the fastest. Any way you do it really does do something. So you don't have to do this perfectly. I know you might want to and think you have to, but you don't. But this usually works the best. And then while you have that memory, you tap. And tapping means tapping on certain points. It looks ridiculous, I know. I have a lot of videos on this, including some where I actually exactly show you how to tap. And I'm going to show you now just with this memory, but if you want to know more, there's more videos on that. So I would close my eyes and I would just see my dad walking to the kitchen, and I would feel that tense feeling that I now also would have with my partner, for instance. And then the feeling becomes more intense the more I see my dad walking towards the kitchen, and there's this fear coming up, worry, like what is going to happen, what is he going to think about, should I do something? And you're just gonna let all of that come up, because the tapping neutralizes it. The tapping will neutralize all of those feelings. And you keep tapping and you keep like looping that little scene until it feels neutral. And you know it's neutral when you have a radical different thought about it. So for instance, I'm tapping, I'm seeing him walk into the kitchen, I'm scared, what is he gonna say? Have I done something wrong? I'm going back through my mind to all the things I could have said that would, make him mad. And all of a sudden, while tapping, I'm switching to, but wait, that's just really unhealthy. And he should be able to regulate himself. The fact that he's doing this, that he's like brewing while he's doing the dishes, that's not really my problem. That's just one way that he's operating, but it's not fair. And he could also always find a way to say it nicer or more lovingly. And so you keep tapping through the points. And when you start having feelings or thoughts like that, you know you've neutralized it. I'm so used to tapping that I just keep tapping. You've neutralized it when you have radical different thoughts about it. And when a little bit of anger comes up, that's a really good sign, because that's you taking a stance for yourself. And so this is one trigger, just one trigger. And you will notice when you have radical different thoughts about it, when you have neutralized the feelings around it, that when you are with your partner, you won't have the same tension anymore. The tension either is way less, completely gone, which is very, very much doable, and or a small different aspect comes up. Like when I was working on this tension with my husband, it was him going to another room and I couldn't see him. But when that was cleared, I still felt tension when he was in the house with me. And I started pinpointing that too. Like what were the moments that I felt the most tension? And another moment I felt tension was when he was coming home from a day of work. And that also had to do with my dad, because when he would come home from work, when I was younger, he was in a burnout for most of my childhood. And so I never knew what his day would have been like. Sometimes he was just very joyful when he came home, and sometimes just everything was wrong. And so when I would hear his keys in the door, I was partly excited because he's my dad and I love him, and terrified because what is going to happen? Am I going to be lashed out at? Is he going to lash out at my mom? Is the house clean and orderly enough? Because that was something he would always trip over. And there was just like almost this dark cloud surrounding his coming home. And I realized that I was having the same feeling with my husband, who just wasn't like that at all. And so that was a different aspect. And I healed all those different specific triggers. So when you still feel tension when your partner is at home, it could be that there's another trigger that is contributing to that. And you can heal that too. And then you get to a point where you're just completely relaxed when you're at home with your partner. And so we're healing this in 21 days. You could, and I really want you to know that you could heal this in one go. If you tap, you do that little video you make that little video movie in your head, and you loop it and you keep tapping, it could be that that trigger is healed in one session, which could be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. So if you do this on that one trigger for 21 days, and every single day for 15 minutes, you loop that little video scene, you will neutralize the trigger. That specific trigger, you will neutralize it. It's not only very doable. I started with very, very doable, but it's almost guaranteed if you stay with the feeling and you do this for 21 days. And then when you, as a bonus, add obsessive saturation, which means you kind of install what you want to happen, and tap on that too, that's going to supercharge it. So in 21 days, in just 3 weeks, you can very, very much clear a very important trigger. Some triggers, it will take 15 minutes. Some really will take a few days or a few weeks of consistent tapping, but still very doable. And I just wanted to give you the very concrete steps, the very concrete ways. And there's not much more to this. If you want to know what obsessive saturation is, by the way, I have a video on that too, explaining it completely. We'll link it up here or under this video, so you can watch that too. But it's not bigger than this. It's not more complicated than this. So when you're wondering, how do I heal a trigger? This is how you heal a trigger. And the more you use EFT, the better you get at it. And then when you heal the deeper layers of the fearful avoidant attachment style, which you probably already are doing or wanting, all of this will go faster, because these triggers are being held onto by your fear brain because of the fear drivers that are underneath it. I can't address that now. We're already at 22 minutes. That's what we do in Healed and Happy, my online program. That really goes to the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment. So I wanted you to have a very concrete way of healing a trigger, because I know they're exhausting, and I just want you to feel that freedom and not be scared of triggers, and not struggle with maybe some very specific triggers that you're struggling with. So I really hope this was valuable. Let me know in the comments below whether this was clear or not. If not, I will explain in reaction to your comment. But it is very doable to heal a trigger in 21 days. I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.